Nepal has long prided itself on religious harmony. But the violence we've seen over the past week has exposed just how fragile that harmony can be. So what really happened? Why does this keep happening? And what does this moment tell us about the direction Nepal is heading? To help us understand what this moment really means for Nepal, I'm joined by Surendra, senior journalist from Kathmandu. Welcome to the broadcast, sir.
Hi, thank you.
Well, we know that live rounds were fired. At least 3 people have died. Curfews have spread across multiple districts. What do you think, in your perspective, did this violence really begin last week, or has it been building in plain sight for years in Nepal?
Actually, if you look at this particular incident, it was started building up on Sunday evening, with conflict between local youth of Sunsari in eastern Nepal and local alleged Muslim youth there. They were preparing to organize a procession ahead of Monday festivities. They observe as part of Sound Mondays when they worship Shiva. And then there was a fighting, after there was scuffle, it just turned worse and nasty, and then the police had to resort to firing. One person was dead, killed on the spot. 9 were injured. One more, died later in hospital while receiving treatment. And in another incident, after 4 days, which was yesterday, another fighting took place in another district in southern Nepal. Seraha, where another youth was killed. So 3 were killed, and authorities had to, resort to clamping down curfews in the affected districts, mainly in southern Nepal, where it has taken a communal shape. If you look at it, as far as I can remember, if you look at the history of this, if you talk about 2026, it started in January. There was some problem between youth in eastern Nepal and also in Janakpur district and near Morang district. There were scuffles between Hindu youth and Muslim youth. But before that, it was completely unheard of. It was something we used to gather in news, coming from India. They used to have, a lot of communal riots, this and that. So it was quite, kind of unheard of. But if you look at it, the recent, series of incidents, then it looks like the malady, the kind of disease, has also spread across Nepal, spill over into Nepal, and it is taking a nasty shape. However, Nepal's political parties, the prime minister, and others, major political party leaders, have urged for restraint, calm, and restoration of peace and communal harmony. And looks like it is calm today, a day after some violence in
Mr.
Sirha.
Phuyal, the Prime Minister also broke his silence 4 days after the first clashes. By then, people had died, curfews were already in place, and the violence had spread far beyond Sunsari. Why did the leadership arrive only after the fire spread? Why has Prime Minister Balendra Shah been so distant from the public?
His nature is such that he communicates with the masses, with the people, through his Facebook posts, which many people find quite ridiculous. But yesterday he was forced to, break his silence and address the nation again, allegedly through, his social media channels, which I'm yet to confirm. But so it is his nature to, communicate like that, and maybe he's too young, a little inexperienced. And things like that happen in governance, in politics. Sometimes things suddenly spiral out of control, and then the leadership begins to wake up. So this is precisely what's happening. The Home Minister under the Prime Minister Balen Saha is currently touring southern Nepal, going to the affected districts and meeting relatives of the affected families. So finally, the leadership has woken up, and today, as we talk, Prime Minister is holding a meeting with leaders of the Tarai political parties, so the so-called Madheshi political parties representing southern Nepal. So they are urging, restraint and calm, and hopefully, things will get better and peace will return.
The government is definitely, as you said, now promising a fair investigation. They are urging restraint. But the armed police force reportedly warned about growing communal polarization 3 years ago. This was warned beforehand itself. They warned that small disputes could turn into something much bigger, and clearly nobody listened. Why does it always take dead bodies before action?
Things like that happen. It is unfortunate in Nepal's case that such cautions are not taken seriously, and they are taken with a pinch of salt. In the case, for example, if you look at the Genji revolt last year in September in Nepal, similar warnings had been issued, and the leadership, turned completely, off guard, appear off guard, and things, really turn nasty within hours. So it is. We have to accept that it is the problem. It is the weakness of political parties in this part of the world, particularly in Nepal, to, wake up too late, or swing into action at the 11th hour. Hopefully, they will draw lessons from this episode.
You're right, Mr. Phuyal. The Prime Minister even said that no religion teaches hatred. That's true, but people are not just fighting over religion alone, are they? They're fighting over identity, politics and power as well. Are we misdiagnosing the problem?
Yes, we are not misdiagnosing. Actually, there are other issues too, like the issues of identity, religious harmony, which is something which was used to be the beauty of Nepal, religious harmony, communal harmony. More than 100 different ethnic groups have been living in this country for centuries, quite peacefully and in perfect harmony. And as with the case of different multi-ethnic, multi-religious communities living equally, peaceful environment. And nowadays there are tensions, and hopefully all communities also will draw lessons from them, and they will begin to realize that there is no choice but to live in harmony, respect each other's faith, and coexist.
If we zoom out a little, Mr. Phuyal, there are also concerns about the rise of more assertive religious mobilization across the border belt, with some even pointing to the growing influence of Hindutva politics. What is your assessment of this stance?
Yes, there are, guesses, and people are making, drawing conclusions like that it could have spilled over into Nepal from India, where communal riots have unfortunately become common. Um, as they say, it's roti beti relations between people living along the border, Nepal-India border. They get married to people on that side of the border, and people get married on this side of the border. So they must have learned something from there also, unknowingly or knowingly. So it has started creating some problem, and the issue, the malady, as I said, the disease has spread to Nepal as well.
Mr. Phuyal, Nepal has seen this before under different governments. It's not just the current government. And after Hrithik Roshan rumor in 2000, people had died. The Iraq riots in 2004, mosques were attacked back then as well. There's Kapilvastu, Tikapur, similar cases, similar patterns in recent years. How can the minorities feel assured and comfortable in their own country? What's the way out for Nepal?
As you pointed out, that's the biggest challenge before authorities in Nepal, to make sure that incidents like these that you pointed out, right from the Hrithik Roshan episode 26 years ago, things like that should not happen. So they must draw lessons, and they must work together. The authorities, the government, the communities, the political parties, all stakeholders need to come together to draw lessons from these incidents and make sure that it's a peaceful country. And also, they have to listen to security forces, and probably they'll have to learn to do better policing also at the same time. So there are a lot of stakeholders involved, and who all need to work together to make sure that to ensure that the communal tensions don't erupt again, and think Nepal will continue to remain a peaceful country like it used to be years ago.
You're right, Mr. Phuyal. This crisis is now about whether Nepal can prevent local grievances from hardening into lasting communal divides, and even whether political leadership can make a difference here. Thank you so much for your time and your perspective. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me, Ian.